A Howard University graduation descends into ghetto chaos. High crime is destroying our once great cities. Are ghetto blacks to blame for the decline of Black American culture and Black people? I regret to inform you that Democrats still think that you're stupid. This is Can't Cancel Rob Smith. Dear Black people, I regret to inform you that yes, Democrats still think that you are stupid. They still think that you are idiots. They still think that you are dumb, mentally challenged children for them to guide in certain directions. And look, I know that I've said this over and over again, but when you look at some of this stuff, I do not know if there is any other I don't know if there is any other conclusion to come to but the fact that these people think that you are dumb. And I came to this most recent conclusion when looking at the comments that New York Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul made early last week that sent the internet into an uproar. This is what she had to say about Black kids and computers.
Young Black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
I want to open things up to their diverse voices, and young Black kids don't even know what the word computer is. So these comments always come in a context of Democrats like asking for some more money to do something. And when you break down what's really going on in New York, you know that they're probably asking for more money to launder or to disappear, like that $1 billion that Bill de Blasio and his grifter wife lost. I still cannot get over that. But this is the culmination of a lot. This is only the most recent one of these comments. Now, remember, when they said that voter ID is racist, this was a big talking point from the left and Democrats. And the fact that if you're Black, you are somehow too stupid to get a voter ID. And if somebody requires ID in order for you to vote, then it is racist. There was a very interesting viral video that went out a couple of years ago. And I always refer back to this when this guy, Ami Horowitz, went to ask white libs around New York City what they thought about voter ID laws. This is what he had to say, and this is what these white libs in New York City had to say about all that.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad. I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely. Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for Black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
So this is the fundamental problem, and this is the fundamental crux of what Democrats and what white liberals think about Black people. And I've always said this before. They think that Black people are dumb children that need to be coddled and controlled. This is what these people really legitimately, truly think. They do not think that we're smart enough to have voter ID. They don't think that we're smart enough. Obviously, Kathy Hochul doesn't even think that Black kids are smart enough to know what a computer is. And so it always comes down to, again, the soft bigotry of low expectations, in which white liberals, Democrats think that Black people are, like I said, mentally challenged idiots that they need to guide for whatever purposes that they are trying to push. Now, when you talk about the voter ID is racist thing, obviously they are trying to weaken voter ID laws across the country to open up the door to mass voting by illegal immigrants. Like, we all know that that is the end goal. And some Black Democrats and some Black liberals and some Black people in general are still not privy to the ways in which they are being used. Now, compare what the white libs thought about black people and the propensity to get a voter ID to what black people themselves actually had to say about whether or not they had access to ID and if they even knew anybody that does not have an ID. These are the words of black people.
Do you have ID, brother? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know anybody, any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has ID. Why would they think they don't have ID? That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so like, we know what we need to carry around.
Yeah, everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
That is the disconnect between the lives of actual black people and the idiot black people that exist in the minds of white liberals and white Democrats. And mind you, even in a city like New York, these people don't know any black people. Their ideas of black people, of who we are pretty much formed by the talking points that the white libs put out on the MSNBCs of the world, or, you know, they're paid black liberal commentators, or, you know, the idiots that they have, you know, pushing their propaganda in Congress. And of course, we cannot talk about how stupid Democrats think black people are without the holy grail of offensive comments from Democrats to black people. This comes from none other than the President of the United States, Joe Biden himself.
I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
If you have a problem figuring out whether to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, if you have black skin, then you ain't black. You're not really black unless you vote for Democrats. This is the line of attack here. This is the line of attack that's been going on for decades and decades at this point, and is still, by the way, very much useful and very much valuable to these Democrats. So why do Democrats think that black people are stupid? Why are they still bold enough to speak in this way without ever really taking any sort of real flack for it? It may be because we keep on proving them right, because year after year, decade after decade, we keep voting them into office and keep giving them complete and utter control of the cities that we populate the heaviest, while the cities descend into chaos. Case in point, cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Detroit have enormous black populations and have been run by Democrats, by liberals from top to bottom for decades. It is to the point with these large cities across the country, a Republican will never get elected in any real position of authority in these cities, right? So these are Democrat-run cities. And they have been for decades. And so how is that working out? How is that working out for the black people that live in places like Detroit and Philadelphia and New York? Well, let's look at the numbers here. The black poverty rate in Philadelphia is 30.8%. Detroit is 79% black. This is a 79% black city, and its poverty rate is 30%. So if you want to ask the question as to why Democrats still think black people are stupid, if you want to ask the question as to why, after all of this time, and what really drives me crazy is that after this huge explosion of there's all these sort of like new like black conservatives and commentators and Twitter people and all of that other stuff, yet and still, after all of that stuff, black people continue to make this choice. And black people, I believe, continue to make this choice. And they continue to allow Democrats to treat them as if they are stupid children because we continue to allow them to do it. If you have a population that you truly believe is low IQ, and these people are telling you what they believe about you via the words that are coming out of their mouths, they are saying that they believe that black people are too stupid to get voter ID. The governor of New York is saying that she believes that black kids are so dumb that they don't know what a computer is. Those white libs in that video are telling you that black people don't live in places or they are too stupid to get ID to vote. This is what they truly believe of you, black people. And the reason why they continue to be allowed to do this, to be allowed to speak of you in this way, is because they know you'll keep on showing up. Is because they know that even in the 2016 election, you still, after Joe Biden said that, you still voted for him upwards of 90%. So they don't really need to respect your intelligence because you are telling them that they don't need to respect your intelligence. You are telling them that you can call us stupid, you can call us poor, you can call us uneducated, you can call us lacking of the basic cognitive functions to get a voter ID, and you will still go running back to them. You will go running back to vote for them to destroy your cities. You will go running back to voting for them to ensure that your kids are not properly educated. And you will run back to keep on voting for them so that they can use the things that you struggled and fought for in this country to open the door to more illegal immigrants to flow into this country and to vote for them. Democrats still think that you are stupid, black people. My question to you is, are you going to keep proving them right? All right, coming up, liberal cities are still being destroyed by high crime and leftist judges. All right, these lib cities across the country are still being destroyed by high crime and leftist judges, just because you're not seeing a lot of that in the media nowadays because they are so obsessed with the Trump court case and Stormy Daniels and all of the other things that really don't matter. It's still happening. There is an absolutely horrific video that came out of New York City. And if you're listening to me, I'm going to explain it to you. If you're watching me on YouTube, by the way, please like and subscribe. Helps the algorithm, helps me get all of that stuff out there. But I'm going to show you this absolutely horrific video that went viral on X of a woman, basically a purpose behind this woman lassos her around the neck with a belt, pulls her in between two cars, which, according to the reporting, he proceeded to sexually assault her.
He goes, what? What? Tiene pantalones blancos. He don't got no hat on, right? Carajo será este cabrón, uy.
Absolutely horrific. Absolutely tough to watch. And this stuff is becoming par for the course in these cities. Just like I said, just in New York, there was a Times Square visitor, a Times Square tourist, a mom, that was stabbed by some maniac. All right, this is from the New York Post. This was a mom that was visiting from Pennsylvania. The tourist mom, stabbed in the chest by a knife-wielding maniac in Times Square in broad daylight, was chaperoning a group of schoolgirls on a class trip when she was attacked, and her family has no plans to visit the city again. She says, or her husband told the New York Post, that they do not feel safe in New York. A 36-year-old mother of 5 visiting from Western Pennsylvania when a 61-year-old lashed out in a totally unprovoked attack. Again, here is a photo of the perp after everything happened. And so what it boils down to is this. What boils down to is that people are not safe in New York in the way that they used to be. And this is a city, like a lot of our once great cities across the country, that depends on tourism for its lifeblood. That means that people need to feel safe coming to New York City as tourists to spend money to do the things that keep the economy running. And they do not want to do these things anymore. And they will continue to not want to do these things if they feel unsafe in New York City. As somebody that has lived in New York City in some capacity for the better part of a decade at this point, I split my time between New York and Miami. As somebody that has lived in New York City for the better part of a decade at this point, I have seen the degradation in the quality of life in New York. I have seen not only things get more expensive, but that is a Bidenomics economy conversation. I have seen them become more expensive, but I have also seen this city become more dangerous. In Midtown, this is like Times Square should be the Disneyland of New York City. That should be the place that people feel the most safe, the most comfortable, because when people come from all over the planet to visit New York City, Times Square is what they think of visiting. Times Square is the fantasy. Times Square is all the lights. Times Square is the Broadway. Times Square is, a lot of really bad restaurants, but that's neither here nor there. That is where people want to go. And if people don't feel comfortable enough to visit New York City, to go to Times Square, they will not come, they will not spend money, and the New York City economy will continue to descend into chaos. So why is this happening not only in New York, but in leftist-run cities all across the country? Again, this is out of D.C., right? Because this has to do a lot with a lot of these activist judges, a lot of these far-left liberal judges that are letting people go. A teen that was accused of firing 26 shots from an AR-15 at a car is released on bail by woke judge. Lloyd U. Nolan Jr., a judge on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, last week ordered Amonte Moody to be released on house arrest ahead of his trial, despite acknowledging that the teen's alleged actions could have killed someone. Sprayed 26 shots at an SUV from an AR-15 in late April. And this is the guy that gets bailed out by one of these far-left activist judges in D.C. So it's almost like, and I don't get too much into the conspiracy theorists about the George Soros and all that other stuff, but if you zoom out and look at this stuff, it is almost as if there is some sort of plan at this point to make these cities that deeply uncomfortable. You've got DC, you've got New York. Again, these cities run top to bottom by Democrats that are becoming a lot less safe for the average citizen. And by the way, in all of these cities, if you want to have a Second Amendment conversation about this, in all of these cities, these are the strictest gun laws. And not the laws against criminals, because by definition, criminals do not follow the law. But these are the laws that make it harder for law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves, right? So this is where we're at with all of this stuff right now. And these cities are just not getting safer. They're not getting safer at all. In fact, they're getting more dangerous. I do not know what the answer to this is, but what I will tell you this. It is up to Democrats to clean this up. This is not the place or not the area for Republicans or right-leaning independents or whatever to go in this, because people that are right-leaning, people that are Republicans, independents, whatever, we have been saying these things for years. And they fall on deaf ears because we do not have the control in any of these cities. And in fact, like I said, there is no way that somebody with an R next to their name can even get elected in these cities. It is virtually impossible. So the onus is on Democrats to clean up your own house, to sweep off the porch, and to start electing people that are tough on crime. All right? I live in big cities because I'm a city person. I've never seen these cities look so bad. I've never seen them feel so dangerous. These cities are completely under Democrat rule. It is the Democrats that run these cities, not anybody else. So at a certain point, a Democrat problem needs to become a Democrat solution. So what that means is weak, scared libs of big cities who are afraid to say anything about the crime that you know that you are afraid of because you don't want to sound like a Republican, or you don't want to sound like a Trumper, or you don't want to sound like whatever. You need to stop being so weak and to start speaking up about these things. Because the era of politeness, the era of being a good little liberal, and, you know, going to the cocktail parties and just talking about, oh my God, Stormy Daniels and the Trump trial and all of these different things that really don't really affect your life or my life. It's time for you to start talking about the real stuff, and it's time for you to start cleaning house with these people that you are electing to public office. Because if not, the crime that you thought was just, for those people in those other neighborhoods to deal with, it is going to get closer and closer and closer to where you live. Then who are you going to call? It certainly isn't going to be one of the social workers that all the defund people want to talk about that are supposed to take the place of police officers. So Democrats, it's up to you to fix this. The graduation at Howard University has descended into absolute ghetto chaos. Look at this.
What's going on, y'all?
A celebration years in the making for these Howard University students coming to an abrupt ending Thursday as these graduates waited to walk across the stage at the Crampton Auditorium. Just outside of the lobby, dozens of loved ones locked out and some trying to push their way in after being told the building was at capacity.
Because of the size of the room and because our relatives sometimes do not know how to act, the fire department is now here to shut us down.
Administrators doing their best to let the grads get their special moment and grab their diplomas before they cleared the room, but the damage was done.
Like, while they were doing the keynote speaker, there was like loud banging. Even before that, for like 10 minutes straight, just like boom, 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 boom.
After this commotion, pictures showed the broken glass door left behind.
It's that right now, Loki.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
I'm just heartbroken.
Heartbroken. So let me tell you this. And this is going to get me into trouble. But I'm going to say it because somebody needs to say it. This is the truth about HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. Okay, the truth is that there are about 3 of them that are relevant. Morehouse, Spelman, Howard. Those are the big 3 HBCUs. All right, so the fact of the matter is, and the real truth, and nobody wants to say this truth, is that if you're not at a big 3 HBCU, then your degree is likely not worth the piece of paper that it's printed on. Now, that is the real tea. That is the real truth that nobody wants to say. Because everybody wants to operate under the delusion that these schools are great and that they're all that. The actual truth, and I should do a deep dive into this at some point, but the real truth about the HBCUs is that they're massively understaffed. They're massively underfunded. A lot of people that start these programs do not graduate from them. And also, there is not an HBCU to employment pipeline at a lot of these HBCUs, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is this. It is real ghetto. This entire situation is so ghetto, and it is mismanagement from the top to bottom. Oh, and by the way, that was a very polite news clip about what happened. This is a social media clip of what was really going on behind the scenes. Like, this is what was really happening. Ghetto, embarrassing, ratchet, all of these different things. And like, I gotta say, I'm somebody that believes in some capacity the mission of HBCUs, and I believe in the fact that there's a lot of black kids that take a lot of pride in going to the HBCUs and they want to be around their own and all this stuff. Like, I get that. I understand that. But when you have that imagery that is spread out to the masses, and this is, some of them, the first exposure that they're going to get to an HBCU, and this is what they see. It looks ghetto, it looks ignorant, it looks ratchet, it looks like the people that are employed by this HBCU. And by the way, this is not white people's fault. It's not Republicans' fault. It's not Trump's fault. It is complete mismanagement from top to bottom of a predominantly black staff. And that's the reality of the situation. A lot of people, oh, you're going to hate me. Oh, he's this and he's that or whatever. That is just the truth. And so when I look into the numbers, I wonder, after All of the billions, yes, billions of dollars that have come from the federal government to HBCUs, why are we having a graduation in 2024 that is being shut down and descending into ghetto chaos because they could not count the appropriate number of heads and they could not book an appropriate venue to fit all the people? It just doesn't make sense. And so I got into some of the numbers. Federal funding to HBCUs reaches historic levels in 2019. Former President Donald Trump signed the Future Act, Fostering Undergraduate Talent by Unlocking Resources to Education Act, that restored $250 million a year to minority-serving institutions, including $85 million for HBCUs. In 2021, President Biden's American Rescue Plan dedicated $36.9 billion to the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, which included $2.7 billion specifically for HBCUs. $2.7 billion specifically for HBCUs, and Howard University can't have a graduation that has enough seats for the families of those who graduated to come see their kids walk across the stage. It is ridiculous. It's mismanagement. It's ghetto, ratchet, stupid, and foolish. And when I point out the numbers, somebody explain to me why my tax dollars and the federal government is giving billions of dollars to HBCUs, and we have an embarrassment like this being spread all over social media, which makes Howard look crazy, which makes all of these kids look bad, makes their parents look ghetto, and lack emotional control because they're breaking, chanting and breaking stuff or whatever because they can't graduate. The whole thing is embarrassing. It's a mess. And I wonder again why, if the federal government is sending billions with a B dollars to HBCUs, why can't you get it right? Is ghetto black culture destroying Black America? This YouTuber seems to think so. Her name is Zaria Simmons, and she has a lot to say.
Here is my little 2 cents that nobody asked for. I am sick of seeing Black Americans in the media, on social media, in the news, doing crime, walking around next to naked the women, the men perpetuating gang violence, substance abuse. The absolute worst of our community is oversaturating the media, even though they make up a small percentage of all of Black Americans. The decay of our morality within Black communities has been slowly declining over the past 20 years, and no one is talking about it, no one is saying anything about it or trying to address it. And if you do, you are often told that you're policing Black bodies. If you say Black women, stop getting on the internet and in the media, twerking, walking around with little clothes on. People tell you that you're policing bodies, policing Black bodies, or it's respectability politics.
Is she right? Absolutely. And I will do one more. I will say this. When you are somebody that's Republican or conservative or right-leaning or whatever, when you say these things, you're called a coon, you're called an Uncle Tom, you were called Carlton, you were called all these different things. You know, look in the comments section. They say lots of things about me. But of course, she's absolutely right. And here's the thing about ghetto people, okay? Like, Black people don't even like ghetto Black people. Nobody is trying to deal with these people. Nobody is trying to deal with that culture. When you look at the sexy reds in the world, just look at the culture today. Look at Sexy Red. Look at the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. Look at how young Black women and young Black men are displayed in our mainstream media. All of these things are extremely destructive, and it's only getting worse. Like, it's not getting better. The culture right now is as ratchet as I've ever seen it before. Even when you look at the R&B singers, I remember Mary J. Blige singing about real love back in the day. Now you got Summer Walker singing about like how these ends ain't nothing and all of this stuff. So this is what's going on. And there is a left-right divide in the Black community about this. And the reason that there is a left-right divide is this. Liberal Blacks, paid Black liberal commentators have basically sold out to whoever their handlers are. And they have basically been trained to say that every ill that the Black community faces, if it's fatherlessness, if it's a cultural issue, if it's a young Black men that are wilding out of control, if it's these young Black women that have been taught that to get attention is to go twerking and go do all of this other stuff. So the paid black liberal commentators have been taught to basically blame every ill that the black community faces on white people, on Republicans, on racism, on Trump, like you name it, because nothing is ever our fault. All right? Ever. Nothing is ever our fault. Everything is always the fault of racism and systemic racism, and the air is racist and climate's right, like all of this other stuff, right? And when you are a black person, again, and you really speak up about this stuff, in a way that say, hey, black people, like, we need to do better. You're a coon, you're an Uncle Tom, you're Carlton, you're all this other stuff. Like, we've all seen this. And there was a huge missed opportunity that it still exists right now. And the missed opportunity is the Obamas. Now, Barack and Michelle Obama are the most popular black people in America today. They may be the two most popular black people that have ever existed throughout the course of history. Seriously. People listen to them, and black people listen to them in a way that they will not ever listen to anybody else. And if there was ever a messenger, and this can still happen right now, it's not too late for this, by the way. If there was ever a messenger that said, hey, Black America, it's time to take the training wheels off. It is time for us to be better. It is time for us to do better. It is time for us to present ourselves better. It is Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. These are the two people that could do it. All right? Because even I have a lot of issues with Barack Obama, partially because he's not black. He's somebody that pretends to be black and all this other stuff. But Michelle Obama is black. Like, she's really black. She's not like, you know, a biracial dude like that was raised in Hawaii. No, Michelle Obama is like from the South Side of Chicago black. And so if she really said, it's time for black Americans to take the training wheels off. I don't like Sexy Red. Like, I don't like this stuff. Young black women, you are better than this. I don't like seeing the riots on the Carnival cruise lines. I don't like seeing all this ghetto stuff. If she really stood up there and said be better and do better, like, she would get a lot of hate from paid black liberals on Twitter, but the people would listen. But Michelle and Barack missed the opportunity because they're getting the bag from the libs. And when you're getting a bag from the liberals, you know that there are certain things that you cannot say to black America and do better, be better. It's time to take the training wheels off and stop blaming white people and racism for everything that is an issue in our communities. They know that that's not a popular message. That's not the message that's going to get you a $30 million home in Martha's Vineyard. That's not the message that's going to get you 9-figure Netflix deals and 9-figure book deals. So they took the bag. They will be universally beloved forever, provided they don't give black people the message that we really need to get. And so they're a missed opportunity. And so there are YouTubers like this, Zaria Simmons, who's putting the message out there. There's people like me who are putting the message out there. But it's very unfortunate that at this point that ghetto black culture is basically ruining black America, basically taking it backwards culturally. And none of these problems are going to be fixed because the people that have the most power and the most cultural influence that I could probably live 5 lifetimes and never have, Barack and Michelle Obama have it. And a lot of these black commentators have it, but they don't use it because they're afraid to. And that, to me, is one of the saddest things and one of the biggest losses in why this ghetto black culture is destroying black America. All right, Problematics, thank you so much for joining. Please watch, subscribe, share on YouTube. It helps the algorithm. If you're listening to me, you can find this show on youtube.com/@CanCancelRobSmith. You can also find me on iHeart Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.